Hello, it's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show with me, your host Nigel Seeley, joining me to look ahead to tomorrow's action at the French Open with places up for grabs in the quarterfinals. It's our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It's Sean Calvert. Sean, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. You all right?
I am very, very well. The back is cured. I mean, we got some stick yesterday, but talking about the back and the cough. Yeah, I know.
I did say people are bored of my ailments. I can't help it if I'm in the middle of an 8-week virus. I don't mention it much, though.
No, you haven't mentioned it much. For the next 8 weeks, what's the spread and how many times are we going to mention your virus over and
Well,
over?
I've gone 3 or 4 weeks already, so there's only 4 weeks to go. So you asked me how I am, so I kind of have to answer. That's the honest truth. I'm surprised your back's cleared up so quickly, though. That's.
Listen, a night on Heineken at the Champions League final and a night dance with the Real Madrid fans cures
That's the
everything.
cure, is it?
Cures everything.
I'm not sure
now,
it does.
I want to know. No, seriously, it's a serious question. We probably got another 4 weeks of the cough. How many mentions of the cough do you reckon we'll have on the Game Bet Match? That's 3. That's 12. Well, probably 15 podcasts.
Well, I can manipulate this now, can't I? I'm going to say none.
I was going to pay 18.5.
Well, I'll just manipulate it so that I win, obviously.
Well, there's no wager. This is, when I ask you how you are, it's great.
I'll just say I'm all right. That'll do. Anyway, enough about me. You were the one that was at the Champions League last night. Let's talk about that.
Wow, what an experience! If anyone's, it was a once in a lifetime event. And let me tell you one thing. I would say that of all the sporting events which I've been very, very lucky to be at, I've been at heavyweight champion boxing fights. I've been at Ryder Cups. I've been at Wimbledon finals. I've been at FA Cup finals. Very, very fortunate man over in my life to be able to be at all these best. That was the best for me. It was the best. And I'll tell you why it was the best. Well, it wasn't the greatest of the game, but you got there 3 hours before. The atmosphere was sensational. The build-up, the Dortmund fans were just unbelievable. We walking around London, the yellow, they were like that football behind there. That football behind you there is like the Dortmund colour that you saw, the yellow everywhere.
Yeah,
a bit like Bet Rivers, really. Yeah, they were just unbelievable. And then, the Real Madrid come in and the Latin side of it. It was just a brilliant experience. The way to get into Wembley was superb. Everywhere you looked was there was celebrities.
And you saw I Show Speed.
I don't even know who he was. We saw a YouTuber called Speed. I've never heard of him. Now, a lot of people have told me my son said he was the most famous person in the world.
I'm not sure about that, but the fact that I've heard of him is,
You've heard of him?
Well, I've heard of him because of Lagan. Lagan watches all this. In fact, he's watching YouTube now, even as we speak. He watches all this stuff.
Game Bet Match, WTA show with Giovanni, or Extra Time with the boys.
It'll be something to do with Mr. Beast or I Show Speed or something like that, KSI, these guys. The reason I know them is because, number one, Lagan goes on about it, and number two, we went to a charity match that these guys played at the West Ham Stadium probably about this time last year-ish, sort of summertime last year. And he missed a penalty to Speed. It was a shocking penalty. I Show Speed, he took a penalty. It was absolutely awful.
Wish I'd known that yesterday. I would have said, Speed, you missed the penalty. But
he didn't just miss it. It was one of the... Remember that one that Pat Nevin took for Everton that barely reached the keeper that time?
How old? Pat Nevin? I can't remember Pat Nevin.
It was like that. It was kind of dribbled up to the keeper. It was horrendous. But, Lagan knows all these guys, so therefore, I know them.
I shouted out to him, went, "Oi, Speed! Speed!"
I saw the video,
He gave me a thumbs up.
Lagan loved that. I showed him this morning. He was like...
Yeah, I sent it to you. Yeah. But anyway, it was an amazing thing. I mean, we had Arbeloa, who played for Real Madrid and Liverpool. We were sitting next to the Spanish TV. It was amazing. The Boer twins were there as well to our right. It was just an amazing day, and the whole thing. The game was great, and we called it right on the Betting Weekly Extra Time. We said under 2.5 goals. I gave 1 or 2-0 on the Instagram page as well. So we actually
a good night
won a
was
few.
had by all.
Yeah, so we had a brilliant night, and also we won a few quid. We paid for the tickets because it was £1,220. So that's $1,500 for the two of us to go to the match. That was cost
it's not
price.
cheap, is it? But can't I put a price on these experiences? Well, you probably can, but
$1,500 that's the price. But the back's done all right. I think a night out when you're crammed up on a tube train, squashed in, with everyone going crazy, you suddenly loosen up a little bit. But get moving.
A few Heineken's probably helped as well.
Yeah, not many. Not a £9.50 a pint.
Oh yeah, it's out of my price range.
And if three Heinekens, and that's 8 wheeze before half time, so you got to be very toilet breaks before half time. So you got to be very careful at my age. Anyway, we are moving on. That was last night. This is the tennis now, and we're moving into the business end of the French Open. It's week number 2, and this is where places in the quarterfinals are up for grabs, and it's going to be really interesting from here now. The weather looks fair, doesn't it, Sean? The weather looks pretty good for the next week or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 22 degrees supposedly tomorrow. And staying nicer all week, which is pretty much the original forecast that we had for the first week that was completely wrong. But I think various sources seem to be saying that it's going to be warmer and therefore it'll be slightly quicker. Not hot though. I wouldn't say it was going to be hot, like maybe 20, 21-ish, 22-ish all week. So that's an improvement, certainly for the crowd and probably for the players. But it probably will get slightly quicker, but not massively so.
Yep, it's going to be a little bit quicker. And does that suit any particular player? Does that suit anybody? Is any player that you think will be?
I would say that it suits someone like Zverev. I mentioned in the podcast we did the other day that he's not keen on those sort of slow, damp conditions. I did say that he might struggle against Greek sport, or it wouldn't be as easy as the odds suggested. And he just about got through because of a Greek sport choke, didn't he? I would say that quicker, drier conditions would certainly favour Zverev as one obvious example.
Talking about that, on the last podcast we had one official pick, was Leonard Struff. How did he lose that match? It was setting the break up.
Rain delay didn't help.
It was unbelievable.
He was a break-up in all the first 3 sets. Won the first set. He was a break-up in the second, break-up in the third, managed to lose both of them. And he was terrible after the rain delay. I think he went 4 from 15 on break points. And Minaur went something like 7 from 10. And that's a match in a nutshell, isn't it? You know, if you're creating 1.5 times the break points of your opponent, but you're only taking a very small percentage of them, and the other guy's taking 70%. You know, that's the match in a nutshell. But he started out all right, but the rain delays, you know, he came back after one rain delay in particular, and he was awful. He had so many chances on his racket of break points, just overhitting, not hitting it wide. It wasn't our day on that one.
Well, it wasn't our day on our official pick, but all our leans all won.
That's typical, isn't it?
Pretty much the story of the season, isn't it?
That's typical. Well, I did say that Greek sport and Zverev would perhaps be more competitive than the odds suggest. I can't remember what the other ones were, to be honest, but
we had Musetti.
I think I said 3-1 to Djokovic. There. It was obviously 3-2.
Yeah, but also, I said that
over games,
Musetti over games, and the other one was. Was it Rune? I can't remember myself actually. You know, obviously, but I think let me find it, because we did have all the picks that we spoke about. I think there was 4 matches. It was the Minaur, it was the Djokovic match, and Cerundolo. Cerundolo was the bet as well. But he went out to plus 130. And I'm kicking myself. I never bet him because I was off to Wembley.
Yeah,
I lost my money on Struff. Struff, and I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna get involved with Cerundolo. And I'm absolutely gutted by that. But anyway,
sometimes that's how it is. You pick the one that you think is the best value. For me, I thought that the Struff one was the best value, and he didn't perform at the right times. And you know, I could have gone for both of them, but you know, in the end, I went for the one that I thought was the better value, and that one didn't win, but the other one did. So people often bet the leans. People always say to me, I always bet your leans and stuff. So, you know, you're giving the right information out. It's, it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, all good. And we've got 4 matches tomorrow. Places in the quarterfinals are up for grabs in the 4th round of the French Open. And the first match we're going to discuss is the match between number 1 seed Novak Djokovic, who come through an almighty scare against Lorenzo Musetti. Musetti ran out of legs, as he's done against Djokovic in the past, against Francisco Cerundolo. Now that Djokovic meant, I think, what time did I got in last night at
3 a.m. he finished.
Well, yeah, I got in last night at about 12 o'clock English time, which is 1 o'clock in America, and the second set was just over. So I woke up this morning, I couldn't keep my eyes open, but Djokovic edged through. He won 6-love in the final set, but that is a massive, massive match for him over a long period of time. He's up against Cerundolo. Now, surprisingly, these two players have never, ever met before. But Djokovic is a very, very heavy favourite. He's minus 715. Now, at his age, coming through a 5-setter, Cerundolo is someone that you've mentioned in sort of positive manner on this podcast at big prices. He's 5-1 to win this match. The spread here is 6.5. Djokovic is a heavy favourite, minus 132. I can't believe Cerundolo is an outsider here, plus 6.5 at plus 102. 34.5 is the games, which seems really low again. Over minus 113 and under -113. You're talking about players who might like the conditions. I think Cerundolo might like these conditions as well here. So Cerundolo is $5. You probably won't make a case for him to win the match because of the history of this tournament. When you get to the business end, that the favourites usually do well. But I'm finding it quite hard to see how Djokovic is going to win it by these lines.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned Cerundolo before, haven't I, in terms of the ability that he has, the ball striking ability that he has, but it's all between the ears with Cerundolo, and that's what worries me about this match. I think a lot of this match depends on Cerundolo, how he handles the occasion. He's often a very nervy starter. He was again against Tommy Paul yesterday, dropped the first set. Afterwards, he was talking about how nervous he was, and that was it was nowhere near as big a match as this. But he's got a great record against top 10 players. 8-9 win-loss against top 10 players on all surfaces. Some of them weren't clay. And versus the current top 10 on clay at main level, he's 5-2 win-loss with the service points won and return points won total of 102. So he has the ability. We know he has the talent to trouble these top guys. He's beaten Casper, Ruud twice. Sinner, Rublev, Zverev, all on clay. And he's a 200-1 shot to win the tournament. The reason he is because has he got that mental strength? I would certainly question it. I've been backed him many times and he's let me down, and let himself down probably more importantly, because it just goes. The level, the top level that he's got is great, as Sasha Zverev will tell you when he thrashed him in Madrid, I think it was, wasn't it? He was absolutely unbelievable that day. Zverev didn't play bad at all that day. Cerundolo was he was like a brick. Well, he didn't miss at all. And the power that he has, on his day, if it all clicks, he's a danger to anybody. And this is all about if he's able to relax and play his best level. I don't know whether he will. He is very nervy one. But if we look at, that could help us get a decent bet here, because he's won set 2 in 7 of his 10 main level matches on clay against top 10 opponents. And that kind of ties in with the sort of feeling about him being a slow starter. He's often dropped the first set, but he's won 7 out of 10 second sets against top 10 opponents on clay. So once he relaxes, he's into it. I think the bets you want to be looking at here, you've got to be slightly worried as well about Djokovic in terms of the 3 a.m. finish, the 5-setter. But, I mean, how many times has he shown us in the past that he just brushes these things off? Can he still brush them off at his age? Well, we'll see. It should be an advantage to Cerundolo, who finished a lot earlier his match against Tommy Paul. So, there's a fair bit to like about Cerundolo's chances here. I wouldn't be going on the money line, because I think you'll get a bigger price. I think if he starts nervously again, obviously his price is going to go out. But when I looked earlier on the Bet Rivers website, if I can say it properly, plus 270 was the price about Cerundolo winning the second set. I think that's an interesting wager. It's obviously a bit of a gamble, but either that or maybe go over the total games, which was it 34.5? 34.5
that
for line?
Seems very low to me. I concentrate most of my wagers on total games and spreads, and I think 34.5 is a cheap line.
I think if you go in on the over-unders, I would certainly be directing you towards the overs. I'm concerned about Cerundolo's brain. I really am. I just feel like it can go at any point. If he loses that first set, which he has a tendency of doing, does that then loosen Djokovic up and Djokovic starts playing his best stuff? Because Cerundolo does get down on himself. That's the thing. That's the thing that's stopping all these guys from being where Novak Djokovic is. It's the mental strength, which is certainly a concern about Cerundolo. But in a nutshell, I would probably, if I was betting on this match, I would probably take a punt on him winning set 2. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he does play better in these big matches once he's relaxed and got a set out of the way.
Yep, head across to the Bet Rivers website or the app. It's a 10 o'clock start tomorrow morning Eastern time, and there's 42 markets available with Bet Rivers, including that set 2 market that Sean has just touched on there. And the price of set 2 is exactly the same as Sean said, plus 270 for Cerundolo to win set 2. He has a knack of winning set 2s. Remember, you can watch the match live on your phone or your mobile device. If you place a wager with Bet Rivers, you can watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers. Sean, before we just go on to the second set, second match, sorry. I should have probably mentioned it at the top of the show. We've been quite negative of the season so far, looking at the tournament winner here, thinking that Alcaraz is obviously... we thought he had an injury concern, and Yannick Sinner, we've known he's had an injury concern as well. So both of these players have come in. What have you made of them so far? Because, Alcaraz has booked his place into the quarterfinals. Sinner's probably a heavy favourite a bit later on to do the same. Are you still wary of them, or do you see signs that they're not as badly, not conditioned as you would expected?
Sinner, I think just he hasn't really been tested yet, has he? My worry about Sinner is always stamina, and he's not really been pressed past 3 sets yet, has he? Just looking at the no, straight sets against Eubanks, Gasquet, Kotov. Yeah, he's not been pressed into a 4 or 5 set at 3 a.m. finish like Novak Djokovic has. I think the key with Sinner is if he does get pressed into one of those. I know he's got a night match tonight against Moutet. I'm not so sure Moutet is going to extend him into the wee small hours. To be honest, you never know with Moutet. He's obviously a mercurial character, but I don't see him pressing Sinner into a 5 set sort of late one. I think with Sinner, it's just wait and see with him. I think if he does I'm just looking further down the draw, if he beats Moutet as he should, get Hurkacz or Dimitrov, that could be maybe a 4 or 5 set. He has struggled with Hurkacz before, so I think the jury's still out on Sinner. As far as Alcaraz is concerned, I've seen a fair bit. I've been watching a bit of him today against Felix, but Felix was injured, so not that you would expect Felix to put up much of a great resistance to Alcaraz on clay. I think with Alcaraz, I think it's just a case of him being able to fully trust that right arm. He showed signs certainly against Korda that he's able to hit at that frightening full power again. So I think Alcaraz is getting better and better. He did need matches because he hasn't played that much this clay swing. So for me, I'd be at the minute I'd be kind of leaning towards Alcaraz. But as I say, Sinner's yet to be tested. We'll see.
We will see over the next week. We'll see who's crowned the French Open champion. Will it be Casper Ruud? Casper Ruud has been the nearly man here a couple of times. He's up against Taylor Fritz, the American who's doing unbelievable things on the clay court on the European swing. Casper Ruud is the favourite, minus 250. Taylor Fritz is $2. The spread here is 4.5, minus 108 for Ruud, minus 118 for Fritz, plus 4.5. Obviously, the man with the big serve. 38.5 is the total, over minus 117, under minus 108. Casper Ruud is on an 8-match winning run after he won in Geneva, and he's shown no signs of stopping. Coming through 2 quite tough matches against Davidovich Fokina, which was a battle, and Etcheverry as well. What do you think about this one? They've met once before. Casper Ruud won it. It was in the Masters Cup, and he won in 3 pretty tight sets.
It was in very quick conditions, that wasn't it? I think, was it in Turin? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, lightning quick conditions there. So a good win for Casper Ruud, but end of the season. Not sure we can read too much into that. It certainly hasn't got much relevance to this match. I should just point out, by the way, we're talking about round 4 here, aren't we? Losing the track of the...
Yes, we are.
Right, so round 4 averages only 14% underdog winners. Only 2 of the last 23 underdogs have won in this round. So this is just a background to what I've been talking about a lot on this French Open shows. Not many of the underdogs do win, and this is kind of relevant to this Fritz Ruud match. Only 20% of them have won so far this French Open, and 6 of the last 50. Only 6 of the last 50 underdogs have won. So it's been an even worse year than normal so far in the French Open as far as underdog winners are concerned. And this round 4 traditionally it's not somewhere you would normally want to be back in the underdog. I do like one, incidentally, but I'm not sure the one is Taylor Fritz. I think from his point of view, Fritz, Ruud had another late night finish. He was another one that was moaning about the fact that he finished about 2 a.m.-ish. And then, they don't just come off the court and go to bed. They've got to do media, they've got to do the warm-downs, they've got to do all this sort of stuff. So that would have been a very, very late finish for Casper Ruud. Fritz is also coming off what he'll probably see as an unnecessary 5-setter against Kokkinakis. I think he was 2-0 up in that, wasn't he, Fritz, and let it slip. Excuse me. Fritz only won 51% of second serve points against Kokkinakis on clay, which is not great considering Kokkinakis won 60%. And it's those neutral rallies that I'm not sure Fritz is going to win enough of to beat Casper Ruud on clay. If we look at the last 10 matches each on clay at main level versus the current top 20, Fritz has got decent enough service points won and return points won total of 102. It's actually better than Ruud's on 101. But he's only got a 40% win rate. compared to Ruud's 70% win rate. Quicker conditions, you might say, should help Fritz. This is an afternoon match, isn't it, I think?
I think it's 9:30 in the morning, Eastern time, which will be 6 hours ahead
it's
of that.
It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon local time.
3:30.
Yeah, so that would help Fritz, but, on the stats, the bare clay stats, you would suggest that it might be slightly closer than the odds here suggest on the money line, but because if you look at what they've done this season on clay at main level, Fritz, service points won over 10 points, won total of 106, Ruud 108. So on that, there's not much in it. On the stats of their last 10 matches against the current top 20 on clay, there's not much in it. I feel like I'm just not sure I can see Fritz winning 3 out of 5 sets against Casper Ruud on clay. I think he'll probably win a set. Again, I'm looking at, obviously, alternatives to the money line. It's not easy to try and find value at this French Open second week in particular. I'd probably be going 3-1 to Ruud here, plus 270 with Bet Rivers. It has that sort of feel about it, one that I can't really see Ruud losing, but at the same time, I can't see him winning it that easily, given how well Fritz has served, even on the clay. So I'd probably take a chance on that. Another big price one there, plus 270 with Bet Rivers on Casper Ruud winning by 3-1.
Casper Ruud 3-1 plus 270. The price is available there, along with another about 60 different markets will be available on that match by the time it starts off. As I said, it's an early start. If you're based in America, it's 9:30 a.m. It's a European start in the afternoon over in France. And just remember, if you think it's going to be quite an edgy match, you're going to go into play. There's each day, Bet Rivers have an offer. It's the French Open in-play bet insurance each day of the French Open at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If your first French Open in-play wager loses, you will get a bonus back equal to 50% of your bet. Good on your first in-play bet each day of Roland-Garros. Minimum odds of minus 150 or longer. Good for up to $25 back in bonus wagers. Head across to the Bet Rivers app for full details. Remember that French Open in-play bet insurance, and that I think that could be a long match, a good in-play match. There's a couple more in-play matches that I quite like here. Alexander Zverev up against Holger Rune is a next match, and Zverev is a heavy favourite, minus 265. Rune is plus 210. The spread is minus 4.5. Minus 110 for Zverev, minus 114 for Ruud. Total high, 38.5. If anybody has used his get out of jail card in this tournament, is Alexander Zverev, who come through an epic match against Talon Griekspoor, and he comes through on the tiebreak when it was a breakdown. How he come through, I was watching it.
Double breakdown.
I was watching it thinking, I've done my money. I've done it. And he come through. An amazing performance. Zverev has been bet today quite heavily. And it's quite surprising, really, because the two have only met once before, back in 2022 in Munich in the round of 16, where Rune beat Zverev in Germany, 6-3, 6-2 in his homeland. Rune hasn't had a great season. Zverev has an unbelievable season, but he's the informed player of the year, on the tour. 9 wins, successive wins. Rune, first time showing a bit of form in this tournament. Only struggled against Caboli. Caboli should have beaten him in round 2. There's prices and there's prices. I know the conditions are going to suit Zverev, but minus 265 does seem very, very short, doesn't it?
It is short. This is a night match, I think.
Yes.
Which I think will favour Holger Rune, not so much favour Zverev, because again, it's going to be cool. Not damp, so that's a plus, but it's not going to be quick. I mean, Zverev, he shouldn't be here, Zverev. Let's be honest. I mean, he's playing with house money right now, isn't he? I mean, it's not a surprise to me and to many people that have watched Talon Griekspoor over the years. It doesn't surprise. It won't surprise anyone that's watched him over a long period of time that he choked up that double break lead in the 5th set. It's what he does. He does it all the time. He did it. I talked about how he did it in the first set against Zverev at Indian Wells. Ended up smashing his racket. He had that many chances. And it's a classic example. That's why it's so hard for these underdogs to win, for us to get them over the line, because they do all the hard work sometimes, and then they suddenly they've got something to lose, and then the whole mindset shifts, and then they start playing not how they were playing to get into that position, but playing not to lose, which is what Griekspoor does, and so many of them do, and that's what separates the really good from the not, from the also ran, so to speak. But I said earlier I think in the outright show that we did at the start, I think Rune, as I said then, could be the dark horse on the outrights, purely because he hasn't played that well. Therefore, he's not that high in the betting. He's not one of the market leaders, but he's got a great record here. he was also fortunate, as you said, to get past Caboli. Caboli, 5-love up in the Champions tie break there. A bit of lack of experience there from Caboli. I think next time he'll get him, maybe if that situation arises. But Rune's got to be the fresher. He's got to be the fresher player here. He played 2 hours less on Saturday than obviously Zverev, who had a 4-hour 5-set epic, and generally he hasn't played as much Rune because he's not been winning as much. So this Roland-Garros, again, Rune, service points won and return points won total 107 this tournament so far. I know it's only 3 matches, but that's way better than anything he's produced in the previous 12 months on this surface. Zverev, again, impressive, 110 total. So, you'd make him favourite, Zverev, but Rune is actually winning more first serve points than Zverev is at this tournament, as was Griekspoor, incidentally. Rune, 74% first serve points won. Zverev, 72%. I think that first serve of Rune's is going to be vital here. He's serving well. He's got all the tools to beat Zverev. He's got the power to push him back. And then when Zverev does retreat behind the baseline, Rune's got a perfectly good drop shot. He's getting much more comfortable at the net. He's happy there. He's comfortable there. So let's look at what Rune's done all time at Roland-Garros. 10-2 win-loss. He only lost 2 matches here, both to the same man, Casper Ruud. Service points won and return points won, total of 104. So for me, out of these 4 underdogs that we're looking at here, I think Rune is the outstanding candidate. I think he's got a reasonable chance of winning this match. When I looked earlier, the bet that I liked, and I still like, is Casper. Holger Rune plus 1.5 sets. He was minus 105 earlier at Bet Rivers. If you said Zverev's been bet, maybe that line's moved a little bit. Maybe the price is slightly bigger, but I feel like this is going to be another long one for Zverev. I can't see him winning in straight sets unless Rune has a really poor day.
It's moved ever so slightly, plus 106. So it's a better price for you. Rune plus 1.5
quite
sets.
a bit. Minus 105 to plus 106.
Yeah,
That's
plus 106 now. So
you're getting plus money now, which I always like.
I think what you said there was really important. You said at the beginning that it might suit Zverev the conditions, but the scheduling hasn't suited.
The scheduling, I don't think will. No, I think if this was played in the middle of the day, I think Zverev would be much happier.
Yeah.
I think that the problem with Zverev is, again, it's mental. Against Griekspoor, it's those matches that he's expected to win, Zverev, that he struggles in. He's expected to beat Griekspoor. He was expected to beat Tabolo in Rome, and he didn't show up for the first set. Only just got himself together in time that day. Again, only just got himself together in time against Griekspoor. I had a lot to thank Griekspoor for. That was basically Griekspoor choking. This is a bit different. I think he'll see this as a pretty big challenge for him. So I don't think he'll have that mindset. But as far as the conditions are concerned, I think from Rune's point of view, I think probably the slower the better. I think from Zverev's point of view, perhaps the quicker the better. So a night match, I think, will favour Rune. So I'm not entirely sure why Zverev's being bet at that price. For me, that's too short. This is, in my opinion, a dangerous match.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on Zverev to win it, as you know. I thought I'd done my money yesterday. Got out of jail. Very happy to get out of jail. I told
you Griekspoor is highly likely not to go over the line from there. He does it all the time. But
then I'm a little bit worried about this. So I'm not going to hedge, as you know. But Rune at plus 210 is a player I bet to win this tournament last year. So I don't like the schedule.
Ironic if you win it this year.
Yeah, I don't like the scheduling of it. I really don't like the scheduling of it. Remember, there's the in-play offer as well with Bet Rivers, and also you can watch this match live and bet live with Bet Rivers. So if you watch the bet, have a bet on this match, you'll be able to live stream it on your mobile device or your tablet. The final match of the day is a match between 2 players who are no strangers to each other. It's Daniil Medvedev up against Alex de Minaur, the man who broke our hearts yesterday by beating Jean-Leonard Struff. Daniil Medvedev is a heavy favourite, minus 195. De Minaur is plus 155. The spread here is 4.5, with the Australian minus 121. The Russian is minus 106. And the total here is 36.5 at minus 108 for over, under minus 118 for under. I quite like the overs in this match because I think de Minaur is playing exceptional tennis. They met 8 times before, incredibly 8 times before. 6 wins for Medvedev, 2 wins for de Minaur, but no matches on a clay court. Medvedev has stated many times he doesn't like the clay, but he keeps doing well. He keeps doing well this tournament. Beat Kopfer, beat Kekmanovic, beat Mahak, all decent opponents. And De Minaur had it pretty easy, though, hasn't he? I mean, Struff, he had a difficult match, but Struff handed it to him a plate. But he's played all right, Medvedev. But this is an interesting one to call, this one.
I think this is the hardest one to call. I think this could be absolutely anything. I really do. You know, it's two players not at their best on clay. It feels like it's going to be a hard court match played on a clay court, and neither of these two adapt their games for clay particularly. It's difficult to have any confidence in De Minaur with his record on clay. I know people are saying he's playing better on clay, but recently. But De Minaur versus top 10 opponents on clay at the minute is 1-8 win-loss. If we look at his last 10 matches versus the current top 20 on clay, 30% win rate De Minaur, and a service points won and return points won total of 95. Not impressive at all. Medvedev, 60% win rate, and a service points won and return points won total of 101, which is pretty respectable given Medvedev doesn't like this surface. You know, De Minaur's only held serve 65% of the time in those matches against the current top 20 on clay. Medvedev's held 74% of the time, but is his shoulder okay? He's had a lot of problems with his serve this year. Shoulder perhaps not quite right. You know, the head-to-head is overwhelmingly in favour of Medvedev. Service points won and return points won total of 105 to 95 for De Minaur. They're all on hard courts, though, so there's not much of a comparison. But it feels like there should be quite a lot of, long rallies in this one, which leads me to a bet which kind of took my interest, really, which is the total minutes of this match, which the line is set.
This is a first for the podcast.
I like to look at all markets if possible, particularly in a match like this, because I feel like this could be really swingy. 185.5 total minutes is 1.88 minus 114 chance of Bet Rivers. Now, both of Medvedev's completed matches here. Hang on a sec, maybe my voice is going. Dear me. I've both gone past that mark against Kopfer and Matchak. The one against Kekmanovic was a virtual walkover, wasn't it? It was a retirement because Kekmanovic was sick. And the last time this pair met, it was 2 hours for 2 sets on slowish hard court in Beijing. So, over 185.5 total minutes in what's going to be... I know it's on clay, I know conditions are getting slightly quicker, but it's still, I feel it's going to be a lot of long rallies in this. That looks like the way to go if you're having a bet in this match. I wouldn't necessarily advise a bet in this match. I think it's extremely difficult to call. Medvedev very up and down on clay and generally, and at the French Open in particular. De Minaur seems to be improving on clay, but very much unproven against the top players on this surface. Generally, when he comes up against a top player, he gets beaten pretty convincingly. So, a long one in terms of time, I think, rather than games in this one for me here.
Well, it drew my attention straight away, 36.5 on the games line. I like that. I like that over. So if you want to be more adventurous, go for the total amount of time. A great prop bet from Sean there. The first on the podcast here. And remember that Bet Rivers have that French Open in-play bet insurance. This one could be a long one for each day of the French Open at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If your first French Open in-play wager loses, you will get a bonus back equal to 50% of your bet. Good on your first bet in-play each day of Roland-Garros. Minimum odds of -150 or longer. Good for up to $25 back in bonus wagers. So see you the Bet Rivers app for full details. So that's it. We've got one official pick, which is Holger Rune plus 1.5 sets against Zverev in the night match. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. There will be a multitude of different markets available on that one. I do like the over games in that Medvedev-De Minaur game. Just one question before I'm going to leave you, Sean, before we give you the wrap up. Alex De Minaur, Wimbledon? Looking at him for Wimbledon, given his form on the clay?
Possible. I mean, we had him a couple of years ago, didn't we? About, 200 to 1, 150 to 1, something like that? What is he now, about?
50.
50. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. I just don't think... His record against the best players, isn't that great. I mean, you need to have a look at the draw when it comes out. I must admit, that price doesn't really tempt me at the minute. If I was thinking about ADM winning a major, he's not... Generally speaking, players that win majors usually... as a rule of thumb, have won Masters Series first, and he's not... I think he's made one Masters final, hasn't he, off the top of my head? He's not really been threatening to win Masters on a regular basis. If he gets a good draw and he gets a couple that fall early, then maybe. But I'm not seeing him as high in my thinking, to be honest.
Wimbledon is coming up this we're previewing it this month. It starts next month, but all the action will be here. Make sure you subscribe to Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. A huge amount of people subscribing at the moment. Really, really great numbers. So thank you very much for coming along. Thank you very much for all your kind comments. Any questions you have, put them on the link below here at the bottom of the comments section as well. Any questions, any bets you want to ask, anything you want to ask us, we're happy to answer those questions. So thank you very much for all the new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying the content. I hope you're cashing some tickets as well. Remember, you can download the podcast Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on your preferred podcast provider, and also follow us on our socials at Because We Win on Twitter and Instagram. Also remember the French Open special in-play insurance bonus with Bet Rivers, and also finally you can bet live and watch live with Bet Rivers. All these matches, they start very early, 6:30 in the morning. Before you go to work, you can have a wager, see how you get on and go to work, watch it at home on your tablet, your mobile device, whatever you want to do. Sean, thank you very much. It's been a bit of a struggle today with coughs and in problems with the internet, but we've finally got through. Plus 770 units we are for the year as well. Hopefully to extend that over the next week or so and going into Wimbledon as well. Okay, good luck with your wagers, Sean. Take care for the rest of your Sunday afternoon. Thanks for watching, and we'll all be back next week, probably on Tuesday. Take care.